Let's dive into the Farm Stack, a powerful combination of technologies that enables developers to build robust web applications. The Farm Stack consists of Fast API for the backend, React for the front end, and MongoDB for the database. Now, this trio provides an efficient and scalable foundation, making it easy to create dynamic applications that can handle a variety of tasks. So, imagine you want to build a web app that can manage user data. With Fast API, you can set up your server quickly, allowing for seamless interactions between your app and its users. On the client side, React brings your user interface to life, making it interactive and responsive, which is crucial for a great user experience. And when it comes to storing all that information, MongoDB has got you covered with its flexible document-oriented database structure. Put these technologies together and you get a clean, efficient workflow that can adapt to your needs, whether you're building a simple prototype or a full-scale application. So, if you're looking to dive into web development, the Farm Stack is definitely a combination worth exploring. Now, let's implement the following Fast API application. We begin by importing the Fast API library, which is essential for creating our web application. Next, we create an instance of the Fast API class. This serves as our main app. Now, to define a route, we use the @app.get/decorator. What this does is map a GET request at the root URL, which is just /, to a function called readRoute. This function is asynchronous, meaning it can handle multiple tasks without getting blocked. When called, it returns a JSON response containing a friendly welcome message. This structure is key, allowing Fast API to perform efficiently. Now, to run the application, we'll use Uvicorn, an ASGI server. You execute a command pointing to our main.py file. Don't forget the -reload option. This allows any code changes to automatically trigger a server reload, smoothing out your development process. Once you launch the app and open your browser to http://127.0.0.1:8000, voila! You should see your welcome message, which tells you that your Fast API application is up and running. Now, let's integrate MongoDB into our Fast API application to manage user data effectively. First, we'll import the necessary modules, starting with Fast API, which is our web framework. This is followed by Async.io Motor Client from the Motor library for that oh-so-important asynchronous Mongo interaction. And we'll use Pydantic's base model to define the data structure for our users. Next, it's time to establish a connection to our MongoDB instance. We'll specify our database named UserDB. To define the user data, we create a user class with name and email fields. This takes advantage of Pydantic's validation features, ensuring that our data remains intact. Now, let's write the endpoint to add a user. The createUser function will listen for post requests at the users/path. When called, it extracts the user data from the request, inserts that into the user's collection, and responds with the stored information, including the newly generated user ID. Pretty neat, huh? In addition, we define a getUsers function that handles GET requests to fetch all users from the database. It retrieves the user documents while ensuring that the IDs are converted to strings for proper JSON formatting in the response. With this setup, we have a solid foundation for user management in our application. The figure titled Key Advantages of Farm Stack Technologies displays a simple bar chart comparing the perceived advantages of Fast API, React, and MongoDB on a 1 to 10 scale. On the x-axis, we have the three technologies, Fast API, React, and MongoDB, while the y-axis quantifies their advantage scores. So, looking at the bars, we see numeric values. 7 for FastAPI, 8 for React, and 9 for MongoDB. From these values, we can draw some interesting conclusions for your tech choices. MongoDB ranks the highest at 9, which suggests its flexibility and schemaless data model are really valuable, seen as the strongest advantages in this comparison. Next up, React, scoring an 8, reflects its strong front-end capabilities and developer ergonomics. And then we've got FastAPI at 7, indicating it offers excellent back-end performance and productivity, but it's just a tad lower compared to the database and front-end options. Now, notice how the scores are clustered in the high range, from 7 to 9. This suggests that all three technologies are quite valuable. MongoDB stands out with the most pronounced advantages, while FastAPI still delivers solid back-end benefits. These relative scores really support the idea that the farm stack components are complementary. Just picture it. MongoDB's data flexibility pairs beautifully with React's front-end strengths, and then FastAPI rounds it all out with its efficient API layer. Together, they create a balanced and robust stack for building modern web applications. Now, let's dive into implementing some code in our React application to create a user interface that interacts seamlessly with our FastAPI backend. We begin by importing React along with our essential hooks, useEffect and useState. These hooks are crucial as they help us manage component state and handle side effects. All right? Next, we define the app function component. Here, we're setting up two pieces of state, one for holding the list of users and another for our form inputs, which include the name and email. Now, let's make the magic happen with the fetch users function. This function is designed to retrieve the list of users from our FastAPI API. It performs a GET request to the /users/endpoint and updates our user state with the return data. We've got to call this function within the useEffect hook, ensuring that our users are fetched right when the component loads. Perfect. Now, let's talk about the handleSubmit function. This little gem. It prevents the default form behavior and sends a POST request to the /users/endpoint, passing along the name and email as JSON. If everything goes smoothly and the request is successful, we'll clear our input fields and call fetch users again. This way, we refresh our users list and showcase those real-time updates. Finally, the component returns a form for inputting new users and displays the existing users in a list that dynamically updates whenever a new user is successfully submitted. That's how we create a smooth, interactive user interface with React and FastAPI. First, let's implement Axios to enhance our API interactions in the React application. First, we need to import Axios, which is a promise-based HTTP client that makes it super easy to send requests to our FastAPI backend. Next, we'll define the fetch users function. Here, we're using Axios to send a GET request to the /users/endpoint. By using await, we can seamlessly handle the asynchronous response and set the user's state with the data we get back, if the request is successful, that is. Now, if anything goes wrong during this process, we catch the error and log it to the console, which is crucial for debugging and keeping our workflow smooth. Now, let's shift our focus to the handleSubmit function, which is in charge of adding new users. This function kicks in when the form is submitted. It makes a POST request, again using Axios, sending along the name and email data. If all goes well, we clear the input fields and refetch the user list to dynamically reflect those changes. This approach not only keeps our code cleaner, but also greatly enhances our error handling and overall user experience. Let's wrap it all up. We've built a complete farm stack application with FastAPI as the backend, MongoDB for data storage, and React as the front end. This combination is not just efficient, but also scalable, making it a favorite among developers. As you dive deeper into building applications with the FarmStack, consider exploring more advanced concepts like JWT authentication for securing your API, or maybe even incorporating state management libraries like Redux for larger applications. When building applications, remember that practice is key. Try adding new features like user authentication, or explore utilizing more complex queries in MongoDB. The goal here is to not just understand how these technologies work together, but to get your hands dirty and start building real-world applications. Thank you for joining me in this journey through the FarmStack. I hope you found this tutorial informative and that it sparked your interest in creating dynamic web applications. Happy coding!